If life is so short, what truly matters? A Buddhist reflection. Time does not wait for anyone. You breathe, and the moment has already passed. But what is truly unsettling is not just the passing of time. It is that everything we hold dear slips away with it. Youth fades. Relationships transform. The body ages. Fame, wealth, even identity, none of them endure. And yet, we live as if these things will last forever. The Buddha saw this truth with perfect clarity. He called it anicca, the law of impermanence. From the tiniest speck of dust to the largest star, from a fleeting thought to a lifelong friendship, everything changes. Nothing remains the same. That is why he taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. This is the path to purification. Yet here lies the contradiction. Even though we live in a world that is constantly changing, we continue to seek permanence, stability, and certainty in places where they cannot exist. We spend years building careers, accumulating possessions, and constructing reputations. Then, when those things inevitably change or vanish, we suffer. Why? Because we believed they would last. We believed they belonged to us. But the real problem is not that time runs out. The deeper question is, what are we doing with the time we have? If today were your last day, what would still feel incomplete? The Stoic philosophers also understood this truth. They taught that death is not to be feared, and that we should live each day with intention. They urged us to focus only on what lies within our control, our choices, our integrity, and to let go of what does not, such as loss or aging. Yet while Stoicism teaches acceptance, Buddhism invites us to go even deeper. It asks us to understand impermanence so profoundly that we are no longer bound by it. It is not about facing change with mere endurance or restraint. It is about allowing the truth of impermanence to transform the way we see, act, and live, moment by moment. The truth of change is not meant to make us hopeless. It is meant to awaken us, to remind us that this very moment, right now, is a gift that will never return. Every breath you take has already passed. So what are you doing with it? When we stop clinging to illusions of permanence, we stop postponing life. We stop chasing distractions and begin to live with clarity and intention. This does not mean we avoid pain or sorrow. It means we meet them with wisdom. For when we truly see that everything passes, we also begin to understand what truly matters. The shadow we mistake for ourselves. We spend so much of our lives chasing something, recognition, success, approval. But have you ever stopped to ask, who is doing the chasing? Most people never do. That is because the one who is chasing is not truly us. It is something we have constructed, a mental image, a voice within the mind that whispers, you must prove yourself. You need to be remembered. You are not enough yet. That voice, that shadow, is what we call the ego. The ego is not our true self. It is merely a shape formed out of fear and desire. We wish to be noticed. We long to matter. We fear being forgotten. So we create a story about who we are, and then we spend our entire lives trying to defend it. We shape our appearance, our words, and our actions, all in service of maintaining this fragile image. But beneath it all, we are tired, not because we are weak, but because we are struggling to uphold something that is not real. The Buddha understood this clearly. He taught that what we call the self is only a collection of 5 constantly changing elements: form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. These are known as the 5 aggregates. They are unstable. They do not last. They do not belong to us. Form is the body, ever changing with time. Feeling shifts with each new experience. Perception labels and interprets. Mental formations react and create patterns. Consciousness merely observes, always moving, never fixed. As the Buddha said, form is impermanent. Feeling is impermanent. Perception is impermanent. Mental formations are impermanent. Consciousness is impermanent. What is impermanent is suffering. What is suffering is non-self. What is non-self is not mine. I am not that. That is not myself. The ego, then, is nothing more than an arrangement of these unstable parts. It has no solid core, no permanent center, no lasting identity. It is not a soul. It is not something eternal, as some traditions might believe. It is a process, a stream of mental and physical habits driven by craving and fear. It rises and fades just like everything else. Even modern psychology echoes this insight. Thinkers such as Carl Jung and others have explored similar ideas. Though they use different language, many agree the self we cling to and defend so fiercely is only a fragment of what we truly are. It is a survival mask, molded by memory, expectation, and emotion. The fear of being no one, the hunger to be someone, these are the ego's ways of proving its existence, even though it never truly exists at all. And when you see this, not as a concept, but as a direct truth within your own experience, everything begins to change. You no longer need to protect the story. You no longer need to win or to be seen. You can finally put down the burden you have been carrying. You can rest at last. Because the one who was struggling so hard to be someone was never truly you.
Why letting go is not loss, it is freedom. We often believe that losing something is painful. When our plans collapse, when relationships end, or when possessions slip away, we feel as though something has gone terribly wrong. But what if that moment of loss is not an ending, but the beginning of something genuine? What if the very act of letting go opens the door to a kind of freedom we have never truly known? In Buddhism, suffering does not arise from having too little. It arises from craving, a deep, restless urge to hold on to what cannot be held. The Buddha did not teach that we end suffering by acquiring more or by trying to control the world around us. He directed us inward, to the real source of pain. Craving is the origin of suffering. This craving, called tanha, is not just the desire for wealth or possessions. It runs much deeper. It includes the craving to continue existing, to protect our identity, and even the strange longing to disappear when life becomes too difficult. We cling to experiences, to relationships, to our sense of self, even to our bodies, trying to make them mine. But none of it remains, and none of it was ever truly ours to begin with. The Buddha also said, not to get what one wants. This too is suffering. Desire itself contains the seed of pain. We think we suffer because we lack something, but more often we suffer simply because we want it. When we begin to see that truth, the entire structure of craving starts to crumble. Even ancient philosophers pondered whether we can truly possess anything. The skeptics doubted whether we can ever fully know or control the world. But where skepticism ends in uncertainty, the Buddha offers a path of clarity and freedom. Letting go is not a passive act. It is not about giving up or becoming indifferent. It is an act of profound wisdom. To let go is to see clearly that everything is changing, unreliable, and not truly ours. When we stop holding on, something remarkable happens. We do not become empty. We become spacious. And in that space, there is calm. There is kindness. There is clarity. This is not escape. It is not cold detachment. It is a radical shift from grasping to understanding, from chasing life to seeing it as it truly is. And that, quietly, deeply, is where real freedom begins.
The Noble Eightfold Path, living with clarity, not control. When we stop holding on, something quietly shifts within us. We no longer live to prove ourselves, and we no longer arrange our lives around fear. Instead of protecting an image of me, we begin to live more naturally and honestly, flowing with life rather than resisting it. It is like a stream flowing downhill. The stream does not force its way, yet over time it softens even the hardest rock. This kind of ease is not laziness. It is strength without aggression, a quiet power that moves without struggle. The Buddha called this way of living the Noble Eightfold Path, not a belief system or a set of rules, but a practical way of being. It is not a checklist to complete. It is a path that gradually frees the heart and mind from confusion and suffering. The path has 8 interdependent parts: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Each supports the others, like the spokes of a wheel, and practicing one helps the rest grow stronger. Right view is the foundation. It is not about agreeing with Buddhist teachings or memorizing ideas. It is about directly seeing the truth of impermanence, suffering, and the absence of a fixed self through one's own experience. We begin by observing, reflecting, and asking, is this true in my own life? From that understanding comes right intention. It quietly shapes our thoughts, speech, and actions. Are we guided by kindness or fear? Are our actions motivated by greed or by a sincere wish to benefit others? This is how we learn to notice the quality of our inner compass. Right speech is more than politeness. It is speaking truthfully, appropriately, and helpfully. Before we speak, we pause and ask, is this true? Is this necessary? Is this kind? We avoid gossip, harsh words, and idle chatter, not to follow rules, but because words can either build peace or feed confusion. Right action expresses what is in our heart. We refrain from harming others, stealing, or misusing our sexuality, not out of guilt, but from awareness.
These choices protect our mind from regret and create the conditions for a clear and open life. Right livelihood brings the same awareness into how we earn a living. It is not only avoiding harm, deceit, or exploitation, but also asking, does my work help others or increase suffering? It is not about perfection, but about aligning our life with values that reduce suffering. Right effort is the cultivation of the mind. We notice unwholesome thoughts before they take root and strengthen wholesome qualities like patience, honesty, and compassion until they become natural. It is a quiet discipline, like tending a steady flame. Right mindfulness is the heart of the path. It is the practice of returning to the present moment again and again. We observe the breath, the body, thoughts, and emotions without judgment. This soft, stable attention allows wisdom to arise, whether we are meditating, walking, or performing everyday tasks. Right concentration deepens this attention. It trains the mind to rest steadily on one focus, developing calm, clarity, and insight. It is not zoning out, but cultivating a mind that can rest and see clearly. When these 8 aspects work together, we begin to live more lightly, not by escaping the world, but by releasing clinging. The Buddha asked, "What will you do when you realize that nothing you cling to can save you?" This is not a question of despair. It is a question of liberation. When we stop protecting the ego, something new appears: stillness, honesty, and kindness. We do not become perfect, but we are no longer controlled by fear. Living with clarity in this way is where true freedom begins. If you found this reflection meaningful, please like, share, and comment. Your engagement helps spread these teachings and inspires others to explore living with clarity and freedom.
What truly matters? Freedom from suffering. If life is short, what truly matters? According to the Buddha, it is not wealth, fame, or even happiness. What truly matters is freedom from suffering. This is not a poetic idea or an abstract concept. It is a real state of mind called nibbana, a deep and lasting peace untouched by birth, aging, sickness, or death. Nibbana is not a place to reach after death. It is not a reward. It is not a fantasy. It is a state of mind that can be realized in this very life. This becomes possible when the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion, the 3 poisons, are fully extinguished. These poisons are not just fleeting emotions, they are the fuel that keeps the cycle of suffering alive. Greed drives us to chase endlessly. Hatred hardens our hearts. Delusion keeps us lost, imagining that what is impermanent can last. When these fires are extinguished, something quiet begins to emerge. The mind becomes simple, still, and clear. Not numb, not empty, but open. This is not the absence of desire. It is the freedom from being trapped by desire. It is the end of clinging. And this, the Buddha taught, is true peace. To move toward this peace, we cultivate 2 essential qualities: wisdom and compassion. The first, wisdom, is not merely knowledge. It is a living understanding of the 4 noble truths, seeing clearly how craving creates suffering, understanding that all things are impermanent and lack a fixed self. This wisdom is sharpened through practice, through careful observation of the mind, moment by moment. The second quality is compassion, a deep care for the well-being of all beings. It is not pity, and it is not personal preference. It is the sincere wish for others to be free from suffering, even those who are difficult to love. Wisdom without compassion becomes cold. Compassion without wisdom becomes blind. but when they both grow together, they bring balance to the path. In Buddhism, even death is a teacher. The Buddha often reminded his disciples to reflect on death daily, not to be afraid, but to awaken. He said, "You could die in the time it takes to breathe in and out." When we take this seriously, we stop wasting time. We stop clinging to what does not last. Many religions look to a creator or promise an eternal life after death. Buddhism takes a different approach. It turns our attention inward, not to escape the world, but to transform our relationship with it. The goal is not to be saved by something outside, but to free ourselves by deeply understanding the nature of the mind. Some existentialist philosophies also speak about freedom, yet they often leave people without a firm foundation, tasked only to invent meaning in a meaningless world. Buddhism offers something beyond this, not simply creating meaning, but transcending the whole idea of meaning and meaninglessness. When suffering ends, there is no need for meaning. You are free. Life is short, but short does not mean small. It is long enough to awaken, long enough to practice, long enough to see clearly what truly matters. Each breath becomes an opportunity to return to the present. Each moment becomes a doorway to wisdom and kindness. So live with care. Do not wait. Watch your mind. Soften your heart. Let go of what you cannot keep. And above all, remember, the goal is not to live forever. The goal is to live wisely, fully, and free from suffering, starting now. If you found this reflection meaningful, please like, share, and comment your thoughts. Your engagement helps spread these teachings to others and creates a space for thoughtful discussion about living wisely and free from suffering.
Subscribe and awaken your mind with Wisdom Kingdom.